So every time I get on one of these calls and I have to use Skype, then the song is stuck in my head for the rest of the day. And I hate using Skype because if you looked right now at the usage of my computer, it's like taking up just an insane amount of processing speed. But it does look pretty. Justie, what's up? So I'm saying hi to Justie real quick. She's with us. I'm going to pop over to the, I think I'm going to mute her now. We're going to try this. And I'm going to pop over to this other view because I wanted to talk to you just about a couple of things before we get to talk to Justie. Bing, 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 bing. It's a song. So let me talk about a couple of things that are going on with the conference. First of all, I am working on the mixtape, okay? If you have gone to the Lawyer Forward conference for 5 years, you know that we make a mixtape every year, that Angela, my former law partner, and I, we get together and we put songs together, and they're awesome. But I've been told by people much older than me that they don't use CDs anymore, which is funny because they're much older than me. But I'm an old man, and so I am slow to the Spotify thing, but since this is a virtual conference, it's forcing us all to modernize. So we will have a Mike and Angela's Awesome Mix, Volume 6 for this conference. There will be a link to it, so watch out for it. A couple things in the news. One, there was a San Antonio judge who was disciplined today for congratulating lawyers on Facebook, and I just think that's hilarious. She was saying, I guess, lawyers were like announcing their stupid big settlements or whatever, and so people were like, she was saying, hey, good job on your really big settlement, and it looks bad for a judge to tell a lawyer, you're so rich and I wish I was like you, and come on. The other news, there's an interesting piece out of Broward County. There was a judge who was complaining about lawyers not being professional in a Zoom hearing because apparently there was a guy who showed up not fully clothed, was his words, and there was a lady who made the appearance to her hearing while still in bed, like legit had the computer on her lap and was like looking at herself and was like, I object, not strenuously enough to stand up right now, but I object. So yeah, don't do that. But the judge was kind of a jerk about it and said, I keep seeing these lawyers showing up with like their beds in the background. Let's not do that. And Sam Brunson on Twitter, who's I think a tax law professor, freaked out about it. He's like, there's a bed in the back room because I live in a tiny house and I'm not rich like you, judge, and you got to back off. We're all doing the best we can. So at minimum, I would say, try to understand your judge's weird balance of how professional you're supposed to be. Because guess what? Professionalism is a fiction. None of us are professional. It's all us putting on a part. The question is what part this moment requires. Please, what I would advise is for you to have business in the front and party in the back. You know what I'm saying? Just get the mullet. Never. You guys might be too young for mullet references. One other stupid thing that you guys might not think is that cool. Amazon today announced that it's drastically cutting the commission rates for people who are, what do you call them, like referral sources for them or affiliates. And all this is to say is that Amazon, is an absurdly profitable company, but in this context, and they wouldn't answer directly, is this because of coronavirus? But the fact that in this context, they're like, we need to hoard cash. You should be hoarding cash. If Amazon, who has just an insane amount of money, is saying they need to hoard cash, you need to pay attention to your cash, which is a big focus of one of our video sessions. This one with Mary Jutton rhymes with button. So right now, I'm going to, in the comments to this thread, my computer's totally humming because it does not like all of this work. I'm going to share the event link again, and then I'm going to share one other thing, a resource. This was a podcast that I was on before, and I think I shared it from when Jordan Furlong was on. And this is Jack Newton's podcast at Clio. They've had several good interviews. The one that was interesting today was Keith Lee of Lawyer Smack and Case Status. Keith is Keith is a lot. He's a very direct human being. You really got to be ready for Keith. But he comes with receipts in this conversation and makes clear that we've really got to think about what this recovery is going to look like. It's just an interesting conversation. Take a listen. All right. All that said, sign up for the damn conference. You'll get mixtape information. That was all I was saying to you. Now, we're going to switch over to my friend Justie. So, Justie, I'm going to unmute you. Hi. We, because Skype is the worst, had some technical difficulties getting together, but you are now talking to us on your phone from the basement, from the bunker in the sticks. You live in the sticks, right? Right?
No.
You don't live in the sticks?
I live in Denver.
Oh, I thought but you grew up in the sticks?
I grew up in the sticks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was imagining you in like the, in Wizard of Oz when they go down in that wooden shed that's underneath the ground or whatever. Yeah. I wanted you in that. Yeah, we did too. We
totally had one of those. Yeah.
I live in suburbia now, though.
I'm next to Red Rocks and right on the west side of Denver, so pretty good metro area.
So we're having these conversations because I want to be able to check in with people and see how people are doing. How are you doing?
I put on some sort of makeup today for the first time in 3 weeks, maybe 4.
I apologize. I did. It's funny you say that.
It's very minimal.
Because Kim Wilson, who we talked to yesterday, she got made up like she was purdy for her session that she was with Karen, and I messaged.
I'm still in a sweatshirt.
I know. I messaged her later. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Like, I feel terrible that you got up and put on your makeups. But I mean, do people think we just wake up like this? I mean,
yes.
This is
you and my husband, and
this takes work. Nick. You gotta. I've got to duck face it. Well, thank you for being so pretty while you're here. And all that. I mean, on the insides, you're pretty all the time. So tell me how you're doing with so you're at home. You've got kids at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to figure out how to work. Did you work at home before this? Mostly.
So we were 9 months into a partnership, and I insisted that we be 100% virtual, other than I have free office space, which we can basically use anytime I'd like as a brick and mortar in Fort Collins. So about an hour and a half north of where we live, my partner and I. So we put that as like our Google My Business listing, right? Like, because I got to get the damn postcard.
I'm going to pause you for just a second. It's not that your story is not so important, but it's that I love that this tool makes it so I can bring comments into the image. And Kim said, of course I wake up like this. It's not true, Kim. I got to exfoliate and other words that I don't know what they actually mean. I don't actually know what that word means. Sorry, tell me more about you, Justie. Partnership, total disaster. But you were working at home. You had an office space you could go to for meetings or whatever, so you had that professional air.
That's it.
But your kids weren't working at home.
No, and neither was my husband. So we have a 3-year-old who, thank God, still has daycare open. So we are taking full advantage of that.
That's an essential service.
Yeah. But my husband's in banking. And like, oh God, one of the major banks. And if he's not on a Zoom conference, like, I'm really glad we're doing this kind of after hours, because we'd be talking over each other.
Can we talk about how annoying your husband is? Because,
yes, we can. He's like, I'm putting my 3-year-old down upstairs, but yeah, let's talk about him. He's not going to defend himself.
Totally smart. I saw somebody on Twitter was like, it's really interesting when you get to see your husband, your spouse or whatever at home. She said, the lady tweeting it said, I just found out my husband is one of those let's circle back guys. Like, he says professional cliches, let's circle back. And I had mentioned to, I think it was Jess, like, Nicol and I, my wife and I, we'll sit next to each other in bed. We'll be watching 2 totally different devices, because I think otherwise we'd kill each other. I think we've sort of got to have some time. And if you were used to your husband being at work and now he's at home, I mean, you need one of those basement-y things outside with a wooden shed. You got to hide, man.
Yeah. I have one place that I've gone because I have 3 autoimmune diseases. So I'm done. Client showed up with fever on like March 16th, and I was like, get the hell out of here. Like, I'm done. I'm not. And then I shut down. Like, this is scary enough without having to feel like you have to deal with an immunologist. So, I forgot where I was going. No, yeah. So I have one place that I go. My horse, I have the office horse. She's about 15-minute drive from here at a barn in Golden. And they did a sign-up sheet. You have 4 sign-ups a week. You're only there for an hour and a half. And I'm like, thank God that I still can go to the barn, because like the constant noise of just like my husband, my son being home, I can take my dog who doesn't talk and my horse who doesn't demand anything, and just like 6 feet away, people don't ask to pet the animals on the trail anymore. It's great.
Yeah, I go to the barn. We don't have a horse. We don't have a barn. But I'm like, I'm going to look for a barn.
Don't talk to me.
So what are you seeing in terms of market? Like, are you do criminal?
Criminal.
How's that going?
Not bad for us.
But you're not doing DWI, I assume. Like, that's...
We've booked more felonies in the last 3 weeks and 0 DUIs. Right. But DUIs were our bread and butter before.
Huh. So you're only getting the big cases that you were, you're not getting the churn stuff, but you're getting the larger cases. And what do you think is driving that? I mean, presumably there's the same demand there always has been. Why now? Why call you now?
I think some of it is we shifted our marketing focus a little bit. Like, we were prepared to roll out with 420 being in Colorado, doing a whole bunch of DUI and DUID marketing, and we just switched and pivoted and did like DV and a couple of other things. And then I think our SEO is catching up, being only like 9 months into this. Right. It's finally starting to catch up a little bit.
Sorry, so you were 9 months. So for the last 9 months, you've been focusing on these other... Oh my gosh, she just hung up on me. Did you guys see that? No. You just de-Skyped me. You pushed a button. Did you guys see that technology fail? Legal tech conferences. Anyway, not a tech conference. But presumably these people were criming before now.
Yeah.
But you shifted your marketing 9 months ago, or you did it in response to this?
In response to this. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Got it. Well, that's smart. Yeah. But by shifting your marketing, you mean you're still doing paid ads or whatever, or content or okay. So your language is just focused on these other issues that are.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that's not getting you like Google results yet, right? Like that fast,
right? It shouldn't be that fast, which is why I think it's some of our SEO that we've. It's finally kind of built and caught up on some of the bigger private pay cases. Well, we're not really hurting too bad because we have state pay work too, where conflicts with the public defenders, we have contracts for that in like a third of the state of Colorado. But with the courts shut down, they're not making referrals.
Yeah, are they shutting down? But your state was are they not doing video at all?
It's a cluster. Like, every jurisdiction is different. Every municipality is different. We have something like 22 districts in Colorado.
Yeah, but I mean, y'all's speedy trial requirements in criminal are just different than other
6
people.
months.
Yeah, so you guys have to move fast, or they can't stop moving. So you're not physically going to any, because I think in Texas what they were doing was criminal. They were still doing dockets. Like, they're still showing up and have a room full of people. Somebody in Texas, correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, but last I saw for the a bunch of the criminal dockets, Cindy Vickers was talking to me about this in her small county. They were still calling dockets as of whatever that was, a week and a half ago that I talked to her, if I understood right. So, but you guys are not doing the, 50 people in a room. How long is everybody? You're not doing those docket calls.
No, almost everything has been moved out until June or July for the most part. We were preemptive, and we filed a written pleading in every single one of our cases within the first 2 weeks. So before this all really shut down.
I know nothing about criminal law, but I watched Law and Order a few times, so I'm pretty sure
it's
I'm
very
an expert.
Similar.
So that first hearing where they determine bail and decide, do you have to sit in jail this whole time? I'm assuming that this is really complicated right now because, like, we're worried about outbreaks in these jails. Are
Yeah.
the courts still hearing those things, or are they just leaving people in until we can have a hearing in July?
Um, every jail is supposed to be evaluating early release, bond reductions, that sort of stuff. So anybody that we had that was in custody on our cases, we filed preemptive motions to reduce bond, convert to a personal recognizance or summons. And anybody who had an open warrant, we filed motions to quash the warrants and set pretrials out a little further. So I think we were successful in every single one of those. And in fact, two of my cases where they were being housed in like state penitentiaries, we said, do not bring them. Can we just do a plea by mail? And two state pen guys both got plea by mails that I have sitting right here to scan and send to the prosecutors. So it should just be stamp, done, don't come. But we didn't leave it to the judges to do it for us because.
So to get to the, I mean, some portion of our group is doing criminal, but obviously not everybody.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you were looking at pretty early in this process saying, this is going to hit the fan. So I'm going to just hurry and file something. And then in the weeks that followed, it hit the fan. And I was quick to this. I pulled my kids before spring break was even started because I pulled them when the NBA shut down. That day that the leagues started shutting down, I think the NBA and the NHL closed down on the same day, if I recall. That was when it really entered the American public consciousness that when Rudy Gobert tested positive in the NBA and then they shut the league down that night, that's when it was like, holy crap. Like people had already started buying toilet paper and whatever, but like seriously, the day before Rudy Gobert, we got 2 giant packs of toilet paper at Costco. We knew we'd need it because people are insane, but we had no idea. And it was the next day that things went crazy. So it just sounds like you got on it quick. For people who, in thinking about, one of the things I'm asking people in this is, are you trying something that's different? What's your feedback? Being ahead of the curve, it's a little late for that as a strategy, it turns out. But like, what would you do if you were in a position where you hadn't done all this work before in terms of switching messaging? Any advice on switching messaging right now?
I think that there's just a flood of like COVID related, how to apply for the PPP, or, I get 50 emails a day with COVID resources. I read like none of them.
Yeah.
But we did do a very targeted one and a 3-step approach for our existing and former clients, which was kind of nice. We did an ebook on how to get out of jail or stay out of jail, because jails are hotbeds for this. It's free on the website, but we actually sent correspondence to every single current client. Like, here are the resources where you check your own court date. Here is where you can go to like get information directly about the courts. So we're not playing messenger. You get real-time information. Kind of put it back in their hands to be informed about the status of their own cases, and it empowers them too. And then we did a phone call to every current client as well. We use Smith AI for our receptionist service. We did outbound calls with a script and said, this is what we're doing. We're checking in on everybody. We want to make sure you're okay. Is anybody sick? Can we help at all? Do you have any legal issues? Are you worried about complying with pretrial or whatever? So
in terms of this language, I didn't understand. Are you saying, here's how to deal with this issue during COVID? Like, it's still time sensitive? Or are you saying, here's how to deal with your stuff, and I happen to be sending it out right now? Does that distinction make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of COVID related in that sense.
But you're not sending out like, you're not sending out like, we're going to do a webinar about, dealing how to train your kids in homeschooling and your whatever. Right. You're still topically focused
very
on
narrow
what people want to hear from their criminal lawyer, right?
Right. Yeah.
Though I assume that you're probably overlap. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, obviously, for you guys to make some comment like, kids are insane and we're tired of them. Please get us out of here.
That's what social media is for.
Does anyone have a horse? I got to get out of here. My kingdom for a damn horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess message wise, maybe the lesson here is show some personality, be aware of the context, but do your job. Like people are here to talk to you about the thing you do. You know, take the context and still apply it to the thing you do. You don't have to write a bunch of posts about, you know, what schools are doing or whatever if you do criminal law. If you do family law, maybe you do. But if you're, you know, be contextually appropriate. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think we've got like 2 more ebooks coming out. One is going to be on how to comply with like probation and how do you do a UA when you can't leave your house if you're on monitored sobriety. Like, is this a pass? We're doing some research. We'll report back.
I'm Mormon. I don't know what monitored sobriety is. Monitored sobriety in my world is my mom's going to come in if you do anything wrong. Okay, so I got a lot of fears, a lot of anxieties.
How much food prep do you have?
I don't seriously. I'm not kidding. In our garage,
to your house.
In our garage, we had like these 5-gallon buckets of beans, and hell, if I'm not going to open one of those things of beans, if this doesn't warrant open one of those things of beans. So we've had small red bean related recipes for the last several weeks. If you guys want some bean related recipes, I know stuff. What about coming up? Any ideas for something else you intend to try? Something you want to give a shot to?
Yeah, there's more of the same. We're shuffling a little bit. So my partner was on maternity leave from January until March 30th. Perfect timing.
Nice timing, Sally, or whatever your name is. I don't know.
Jen.
Way to go, Jen.
Karen. Yeah, so she kind of came back in this just crazy time. So we're taking this as just an advantage for us to really work on the law firm. So we've done one-on-ones with all of our team members. We've kind of changed job responsibilities up, really asked for and received great feedback.
Where's this time coming from? If you're still having the same kind of intake, where's the time coming? Well, I guess you don't have the same kind of intake.
I'm not driving to court.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the difference.
Well, and you're not having to have countless consultations with people who are only paying you $1,000 or whatever DUIs cost. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming you're doing fewer consults, signing larger clients because you don't have to do that churn, which is...
Turns out this has been good for my overall profitability.
Right.
I can work on a few bigger cases.
So who's writing your content, as an aside?
We do.
Okay.
So I did the ebook. We have an undergrad intern, and then we use Blue Shark Digital for the SEO and stuff on the website, but they don't do the content. We just signed up with Spotlight Branding to do some video FAQs. Hopefully we don't use Skype.
Don't trash the tech, bro. Don't trash the tech.
And then we're going to do a newsletter as well through them. But yeah, we like to keep a little bit of that in-house because we have a pretty unique voice. The anti-old white guy law firm.
It's sort of like you've accidentally 80-20'd, you know, like you've had to look over your 100 cases and say, these 20 are the most profitable. Let's just focus on those. Like whether you wanted to or not, that seems to have happened, which is an interesting shift.
We're not dead like a lot of criminal defense attorneys. We're not hurting like that at all. So I hope we can keep that up. You know, the last 4 weeks have been okay in terms of signings for us. But yeah, I'm cool with the 80-20. I got a contract attorney or an associate to take over the DUIs when those come back in because they aren't going anywhere.
That's true.
So
variability on the stuff. You want that variable expense on the churny stuff, but for the big stuff, you want the big dogs. That makes sense. Okay, cool. All right, wrapping up. Anything family, personal related tips in terms of managing your crazy, something you like to cook, something you like to do with the kids, any ideas on the personal side away from the business?
I think so. For me, it's hard. I have 2 companies. I have a property management company too, where I'm the solo property manager for 32 commercial tenants, all of whom are now mostly shut down. And then a mom of a 3-year-old and 2 dogs, a cat, several fish. Now 8 chickens in the garage and a horse. I can tell you there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's a myth. You are all in with whatever you're doing right now.
There probably never was, kids. There was no balance.
No. So I just gave up on that and just said I'm going to do what I'm doing right now, live in the moment. And I really have handled the COVID thing pretty well. I'm kind of a natural introvert anyway, so I like the back office stuff, and this gives me a chance to work more on the back office.
You're like me. You're like a totally extroverted introvert. Like,
yes.
You don't want to be around people that much, but you can
No.
perform. Yeah, no, that makes sense. How's your brownie consumption, your baked goods consumption level? Is that pretty good?
I will say I have had so many sweets.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's like
yeah,
American. It's a common American story right now. One day, we will write movies about the shared baked goods experience that is essential to this American moment. Yeah.
The COVID 20-pound gain or 10-pound swing, you know? Yeah.
10 pounds for you. Screw that. I'm brownies every day. Brownies for breakfast. Brownies for lunch.
My husband makes me stop and eat, which is kind of nice. So we have lunch together every day. And even if it's just a sandwich, like we both walk away from the office, walk away from the wall of money where all the diplomas are. Looks like I'm professional, but I'm at home.
It's in the shed out back, so like it's not that professional.
It's the she shed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Like I actually have a lunch buddy, which I normally don't. We have vegged out on a lot of TV in the evenings, but we've turned it off at least 2 or 3 nights. You know, we don't watch TV with my son, so once he goes to bed, we like watch PBS or fun things. But we've turned it off and just kind of checked in with each other because we're constantly going from like 8 until 8, 9, you know, and that two nights a week, just we're not doing anything but talking to each other, going to bed early, reading a book that has something to do with dragons or freaking vampires or something, and Harry Potter, whatever. Not work.
If they're not sexy vampires, they better be sexy vampires or I'm not touching it. Okay.
Is it forbidden for me to talk about Star Wars?
They need to shimmer. I want shiny vampires.
Just a Trekkie?
No, man. Star Wars all day. Though, I got to tell you, whatever the Rise of Skywalker, not happy. I don't want to talk about it because I did not enjoy it. My kids are mad at me. About the whole thing. There were horses on a spaceship, and I want to understand what the physics of that is, and nobody can explain it to me. It doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you for chatting. I know you like to talk to people, whether you will admit it or not. You're on the Twitters, so tell people how to get in touch with you. Yeah,
it's Twitter handle is Justie for Justice, JUSTIE, the number 4, JUSTICE. And that's pretty much how you'll find me everywhere, if not spelled out. And then, of course, the law firm is Nicol Law. Good luck spelling that.
There's only so many Justies in the world, people. Use the Googles. Thank you, Justie. Have a good night. All of you remember, sign up for the thing. Push the button. It's so easy. lawyerforword.com/virtual. Pay what you can, so just show up. We don't care. Just hang out with us. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.